FBI raided Diddy's mansion, and what they uncovered left even federal agents stunned. 1,000 bottles of baby oil, 3 AR-15 assault rifles with scratched serial numbers, and secret tapes that could destroy Hollywood's biggest names. Was this just a party lifestyle gone too far, or something much darker? A criminal empire built on blackmail, coercion, and fear? Stick around until the end, because the most disturbing discovery isn't what you'd expect. Sean Diddy Combs, music mogul, billionaire, the king of legendary parties that defined an era. From his humble beginnings in Harlem to building Bad Boy Records into a billion-dollar empire, Diddy wasn't just a musician, he was a cultural force. He discovered Biggie Smalls, launched careers, and threw parties that became Hollywood legend. The White Party in the Hamptons, New Year's Eve in Miami, birthday bashes that shut down entire city blocks. If you weren't at a Diddy party, you weren't anybody. Celebrities lined up for invitations. Business deals were made on his dance floors. Careers were launched over champagne toasts. For 3 decades, Sean Combs threw the parties that shaped American culture. But behind the champagne toasts and celebrity selfies, whispers followed him everywhere. Stories about after-parties that went too far. Freak-off parties that only select guests were invited to. Former employees spoke in hushed tones about guests who arrived sober and left different. About rooms that were off limits to most staff. About parties within parties that the public never saw. The public saw the glamour, the red carpets, the music empire. But federal investigators, they saw something else entirely.
I remember I got an invite from you once. This is true. You used to have these crazy parties, and one invite was it self-destructed. After it was you talking, and so you gave the information of where the party was, and then it said this message was self-destructed.
I'm very high concept.
For years, rumors swirled through Hollywood's underground, parties that went too far, guests who were filmed without consent, tapes used as leverage over powerful people. The whispers started small. A stylist here, a security guard there. People who worked these parties began sharing stories that painted a darker picture of Diddy's empire. One former employee, speaking on condition of anonymity, described parties that lasted for days. Guests who were encouraged to stay longer than planned. Staff who were paid extra to forget what they saw. Industry insiders whispered about control, manipulation, and fear. About A-list celebrities who suddenly changed their behavior after attending certain parties. About career opportunities that came with very specific strings attached. But whispers don't hold up in federal court. Rumors can't convict a billionaire. The FBI needed evidence. That all changed when Cassie Ventura filed her explosive lawsuit in November 2023. Suddenly, the whispers had names, dates, and detailed allegations. Her complaint described years of abuse, coerced sexual encounters, and threats of violence. But more importantly, for federal prosecutors, it described potential criminal activity that crossed state lines. That lawsuit opened the floodgates. More accusers came forward, more stories emerged, and federal investigators realized they might have a RICO case on their hands. Because what started as celebrity gossip was about to become the biggest sex trafficking case in entertainment history. March 25th, 2024, 6 a.m. Federal agents surrounded 2 of Diddy's most luxurious properties, his Miami Beach mansion and his Beverly Hills estate. This wasn't a casual investigation. Over 100 federal agents, armed with search warrants, battering rams, and evidence collection equipment. the kind of operation usually reserved for drug cartels and organized crime bosses. Neighbors watched in shock as the FBI's Violent Crime Task Force, Homeland Security, and local police surrounded the $40 million Miami waterfront mansion. Helicopters circled overhead, media descended within hours. Simultaneously, 3,000 miles away in Los Angeles, another team hit his $12 million Holmby Hills estate. Coordinated raids designed to prevent evidence destruction or witness intimidation. What they found inside shocked even seasoned federal investigators who had seen everything from cartel compounds to mob safe houses. Item 1. 1,000 bottles of baby oil and personal lubricant, not 10, not 100, 1,000 bottles stored throughout both properties. The internet exploded. Diddy's Costco membership really paid off. One tweet with 50,000 retweets joked. Man was preparing for the apocalypse of freak-offs, another viral TikTok claimed. But prosecutors saw something far more sinister. Supplies for alleged freak-off sessions that witnesses claimed could last for days, involving multiple participants who were often too intoxicated to consent. Item 2. 3 AR-15 assault rifles with scratched-off serial numbers and high-capacity drum magazines. Illegal weapons modifications that suggest intent to intimidate or harm. These weren't sporting rifles or collector's items. The scratched serial numbers made them untraceable. The drum magazines could fire 100 rounds without reloading. These were weapons of war, not party accessories. Item 3. A pharmacy's worth of drugs including cocaine, MDMA, ketamine, and GHB, the so-called date rape drug. Quantities that suggested distribution, not personal use. But agents also found something that made their blood run cold. IV bags and IV equipment, medical supplies that witnesses later testified were used to help guests recover from drug-induced sessions that lasted days. The most chilling discovery was still to come. Hidden throughout both mansions, dozens of videotapes, hard drives, and sophisticated recording equipment. But these weren't home movies or music recordings. According to the federal indictment, these tapes allegedly captured guests in compromising positions without their knowledge. Hidden cameras in bedrooms, bathrooms, and private areas recorded everything. But here's what makes this case unprecedented. Prosecutors claim Diddy didn't just record these encounters. He cataloged them, organized them by date, location, and a participant, created a library of blackmail material spanning over a decade. Imagine being an A-list celebrity, a prominent politician, a Fortune 500 CEO. You attend what you think is an exclusive party. You have too much to drink, things get out of hand. You wake up the next morning thinking it's just between you and whoever was involved. But then, weeks or months later, you get a call or a message. Maybe it's subtle at first, a favor asked, a business deal suggested, a political position influenced, and slowly you realize someone has footage of your worst moment. According to witness testimony, this wasn't just about embarrassing moments. Some tapes allegedly show drug use, non-consensual sexual activity, and potential criminal behavior that could destroy careers, marriages, and lives. Prosecutors allege this wasn't just about parties. It was about building a network of control that reached into entertainment, politics, and business. Using shame and fear to maintain power and influence. One former security guard speaking anonymously claimed he was instructed to ensure certain rooms had full coverage during parties. When asked what that meant, he said, "Every angle, every moment, everything recorded." The tapes allegedly show not just drug use and sexual activity, but coercion, trafficking, and abuse spanning from 2008 to 2024. A 16-year criminal enterprise hidden behind the glamour of celebrity parties. But here's the question keeping federal prosecutors up at night. How many of those recordings contain evidence of federal crimes? And how many prominent figures could be implicated when those tapes are analyzed? But the evidence suggests the control went far beyond hidden cameras and recorded blackmail. Federal prosecutors paint a picture of intimidation, violence, and systematic fear. Multiple witnesses describe Diddy brandishing those illegal firearms during disputes, not just showing them, threatening to use them against staff members who tried to quit, guests who caused problems, or anyone who threatened his operation. One former employee testified that during a dispute over unpaid wages, Diddy retrieved an AR-15 from a hidden safe and placed it on his desk during their conversation. The message was clear: this isn't a negotiation. But the violence wasn't just threats. Court documents describe physical assaults, including an incident where Diddy allegedly grabbed a guest by the throat during a party when they tried to leave without permission. Former security personnel describe a complex system of surveillance and control. Security cameras weren't just in common areas, they were in bedrooms, bathrooms, and even guest suites. Nothing happened at Diddy's properties without being recorded. One security guard testified that his job wasn't just to keep people safe. It was to make sure certain guests couldn't leave until Diddy gave permission. Basically, he was running a sophisticated prison disguised as luxury parties. This wasn't just a party lifestyle gone wrong. According to federal prosecutors, this was a carefully orchestrated machine of coercion, powered by drugs, violence, and the constant threat of career-destroying exposure. And if you tried to leave, if you threatened to speak out, if you didn't comply with demands, those AR-15s weren't just for decoration. They were tools of enforcement in what prosecutors call a criminal enterprise. Here's what's keeping Hollywood executives awake at night. Those tapes allegedly contain footage of some of entertainment's biggest names. While no names have been officially released, sources close to the investigation hint at A-listers, politicians, and business moguls who attended these parties over the years. Imagine being on one of those tapes. Your career, your family, your reputation, all held hostage by a man who collected secrets like trophies. Some legal experts believe this case could trigger the biggest Hollywood scandal since Harvey Weinstein. Names that would shock the world. But here's the question that's haunting the industry. Will those tapes ever see the light of day? Or will powerful people do whatever it takes to keep them buried? While prosecutors built their case, the internet had its own reaction. And it was wild. Twitter user at Hollywood Tea posted 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Diddy was preparing for the apocalypse with crying, laughing emojis. TikTok creators made videos ranking the most shocking evidence. The AR-15s, scary. The drugs, expected. But somehow, the baby oil became the internet's obsession. One viral meme showed Diddy's mugshot with the caption, When the FBI finds your Costco bulk shopping receipts, it got 2 million likes. But underneath the jokes was genuine shock. People couldn't believe the scope of what federal agents discovered. So, what happens now? Sean Combs faces federal charges that could put him away for life, and the evidence from those raids could determine the fate of dozens of other powerful people. Racketeering conspiracy under RICO, the same law that took down mob bosses like John Gotti and crime families across America, carries a maximum sentence of life in prison. Sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, another life sentence charge that federal prosecutors have successfully used against high-profile defendants like Keith Raniere and Jeffrey Epstein. Transportation for prostitution under the Mann Act, up to 10 years per count, and with multiple alleged victims across multiple states, those charges could stack up quickly. But here's what's really keeping Hollywood lawyers busy. Those tapes aren't just evidence against Diddy. They could contain footage of federal crimes committed by other prominent figures. Federal prosecutors have a playbook for cases like this. They start with the kingpin, in this case, Diddy, and then work their way down the network, offering plea deals in exchange for cooperation and testimony. Legal experts predict a domino effect. As Diddy's case progresses, more names will emerge, more indictments will follow. What started as one man's alleged crimes could become the biggest scandal in entertainment history. And here's the kicker. With over 100 potential victims identified by federal investigators, this case is just getting started. Every new witness could lead to new charges, new evidence, and new defendants. This isn't just about one man's alleged crimes. This could expose a system of abuse, coercion, and criminal activity that reaches into every corner of the entertainment industry. So here's the million-dollar question. Is Sean Diddy Combs guilty of running a secret empire of blackmail and trafficking, or is he being set up as Hollywood's fall guy? The evidence is shocking. The implications are staggering. But the truth, that's for a jury to decide. What do you think? Are we seeing the fall of a criminal mastermind or the destruction of a successful black entrepreneur? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. This community always has the most insightful takes. And if those secret tapes ever surface, if Hollywood's biggest names get exposed, we'll be right here breaking it down for you. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, because when this story explodes, and it will, you'll want to be the first to know. Thanks for watching What the Verdict, where we expose the cases that expose the truth.